from Sawdust and Embryos, here with another great tutorial. If you missed our previous tutorial, Mudding Drywall, Part 1, A Beginner's Guide, we covered outside corners, inside corners, and butt seams on the first coat, rough coat. Today, what I'd like to talk to you about is the mid coat or the second coat, which is a wider coat used to fan out the mud. So what we're doing here is this is already done. So the first coat we had like a 3 inches. The second coat we're going to talk about 8 inches, 8 to 10 inches of drywall to fan that out. And I'll show that in a later segment. So the tools being used today are going to be a sander. This is a screen sanding. It's really messy, but very effective. So this is the sandpaper for this. This specifies second coat. It's 150 grit. On the back it shows the different grits and what you use them for. So a 120 grit would be to knock down the really high spots. 150 grit, which is what we're using, is again to knock down the higher spots, but it's not as aggressive as the first one. And then the second one is for a final coat, and we'll use that in a later segment. Then we'll need the clipping knife again. We'll use this mostly just to get the mud out of the bucket and scrape off any high spots. We'll need a 10-inch mudding knife, and you'll see here it's a lot more flexible. And this is a stainless steel mudding knife, so that you don't ever have to worry about it rusting. We'll need our mudding pan, and we'll need a respirator or just a dry mask that you can use just so you don't breathe in the drywall dust. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. You can shut it off. For sanding, there's 2 ways that you can sand for the first coat. The first way is you can just take your mudding knife and you can knock off the high spots. The second way is to actually use your screen sander and just knock down all the high spots that way. I'll show you both ways. I prefer just to use the screen sander. It's just my preference. So the first way, you can take your clipping knife or your 10-inch knife, and you can just come and drag it up and knock off any high spots that you might have. So that would be the first way, and you can do that throughout the whole process. The second way with the screen sander, you're just going to take your screen. Notice it's not plugged. It's on here secure, and you'll take it and you want to keep it flat, and you just again getting off any of the high spots. So that's what we'll do. I'm going to go ahead and put on my mask, and we'll do the whole wall, and then we'll come back and talk about mudding. So.
If some morning I'm called from this vale of tears, I'm going home to live again.
Hello.
You're so annoying.
As previously discussed on the previous tutorial, we had taken the mud out of the bucket and put it in the pan, and because it's porous, we took and we mixed it with our knife, or cut it, or stirred it, and we do this to get rid of the air bubbles. So we'll go ahead and stir that. It'll take a little bit. I'm using my clipping knife. You could probably use your 10-inch knife. I just think it's easier to do with the 6-inch. So we want that to be creamy. Nice and creamy. See how creamy it is? No pores.
So creamy.
Or air bubbles. Okay, so I'll go ahead and set this down. Like we did before, we'll go over our outside corner, our inside corner, and then all of our butt seams. You ask, why do we need to have a second coat? I'll show you.
Oh.
So if you come up here and look, please come up here and look, camera lady.
Yes, master.
Do you see the gap between the knife and the wall?
Not really. Okay.
How about that?
Yes.
That's better.
We see it.
Okay, now come over to this side, which has already been done. There is no gap.
So perfect.
So if I was to leave this the way it is, when the light came in through the window or towards the evening, you would see a shadow here because it's not blended in well. So that's what we want to do with the second and third coats, just blend it in. And then in our finale, we'll actually take a light and shine it in different directions so that we can see.
You are so thorough.
Super duper thorough. Okay, so what we'll do, just like before, we'll go out about 8 inches, and then just, there we go with that mess again. Then we'll just scrape it on. You could do it that way, or maybe a little bit less messy way would just be to do something like that. But I do it both ways, just depending on where I'm at, what's more comfortable. So then we'll do that up the wall, and so then once we have a general amount on there, I'll do maybe 3 or 4 feet, and then I'll come back and do one last scrape once I get it all done. I'll put my hand, the way I like to do it is I'll put my hand, because this blade is flexible, I put my hand to the inside, so where I'm trying to fan it to, that's where I put my hand. If you want to get an even pressure across it, you could just use the handle, but even then you can see it's flexing in the middle. So I just put my hand on the outside. So then I'll come down and scrape, just like so. And like I said, I'll do this, once down to clean off the excess mud. And then I'll work my way down, and then I'll come up and do one final scrape. So that being said, I'll continue to do that on the outside corners, and then we'll catch back up when it comes to the inside corners. Alright, so on the inside corner, what I'll do on this is I'll do one side of the inside corner first, then I'll let it dry, and I'll come back and I'll do the other side. You can do it either way. I just find it's easier to do one side and then the other. So, and what I'll do on this is I'll just apply it and scrape it down. You want your width to be, between 8 to 10 inches on this guy. So, and I'll do that down 2 or 3 feet, and then I'll come back and I'll scrape it. Just come back and scrape it across. Just like that.
Beautiful.
Beautifully. So then once this dries, I'll do the same thing up top. I'll scrape it. I'll go all the way down. And that'll be it for the inside corners.
Where do you want me?
Wherever. You're not taking a picture of my butt, are you?
No.
Alright. So on the butt seam,
what we want to do is I'll go ahead and take and put a layer on. Now at this point on the second coat, you shouldn't be able to see your tape at all. So you don't want that showing through. So I'll put it on, you know, fairly thick. It's probably 1/8 of an inch thick. And some of that will scrape away, so I'll go ahead and do that and get her around the corner there. Now I'll just scrape and kind of thin it out and fan it out to the edges. Now I'm not applying very much pressure to that at all, so you're not going to need to, otherwise you're just going to scrape it all off. So once I get all this done, what I'll do on this second coat is I'll go around, and I did this before this video, is I'll go around and I'll take and I'll measure how much it's blended in or how much it's fanned in by the gap between the blade. On that 10-inch coverage. So when I did that, I took a pencil and marked an X on the ones that were more than, you know, 1/16 of an inch or less than that. So, and then I went back and I did that again, that area again, applying more mud. So that way it blends it evenly through the wall. So in the next tutorial, what we'll talk about is we'll sand this down, and then we'll do one last skim coat. Then we'll get a light and check for any high spots and low spots, correct those, and proceed to texturing. Now, this is our drywall mudding project. If you have any drywall mudding experience or projects, please feel free to comment below with any advice. Thanks for having us, and look forward to the next tutorial.
Troublesome.